Hey, it's Andrew Huang. I love Labyrinth. Thank you to Moog for sponsoring this video. They sent me Labyrinth a few months ago, and I've been having so much fun with it. It actually helped me finish an EP I've been working on with Undulé, and we just put it out. We also named it Labyrinth because this was so inspiring throughout the process. Also, Labyrinth is just a cool word. This is my favorite instrument to come out in ages because it just constantly gives you these delightful surprises. You have to always be recording when you're using it because you're able to transform the sounds and sequences so quickly. You can never fully predict where you're gonna end up with it, even though you can steer it in a lot of ways. It's really genius. Here's a quick tour. So you've got two oscillators and a noise source. Those go into this section, which is a wave folder and a filter. Some utility stuff here. You've got your overall volume and then the volume of an external signal that you can feed in if you want. The patch bay for exploring connections beyond what's pre-routed internally. And then two decay envelopes with this really interesting trigger mix control. I'll show you that in a bit. But the star of the show is definitely this sequencing section. There are two generative sequencers and you can program them a little, but not very much. What you do is let them run and play with a few settings, mainly this corrupt knob. Let me show you. So here's a sequence. And we're just hearing the top sequence controlling the pitch of the first oscillator. So with corrupt all the way clockwise, this sequence is locked. And by the way, this isn't a sequence I programmed. This is just a sequence that Labyrinth came up with. As I turn up corrupt, some of the notes in the sequence will change. Every time it plays through, there is the probability of any of the step values changing. And the higher I turn the knob, the higher the probability is. But once I go past noon on corrupt, it also introduces the probability of the rhythm changing. So this sequencer is normalized to the pitch of the first oscillator, as well as to the wavefold amount. So let's hear just the wavefolded signal. If I turn up sequence 1 amount here, you'll hear that higher notes are also getting more wavefolding. Let's lock the sequence so we're not paying attention to too many different things at once. Now, whether or not the sequence is locked, you can do a few other things with the sequencer. You can press bit shift, and that moves all the sequence steps along. They're calling them bits because it's a shift register. And then if you press bit flip, it changes the state of each step, so whether it's on or off. So I just turn that one on. If I hold it down, it'll just flip all of the ones that the playhead crosses while I'm holding it down. So depending on the tempo that you're running it at, it can be hard to control that, but you can use this advance button to change which step is active and then, flip a bit if you want. You can also change the length of a sequence. So let's make this 7 steps. Every time you press length, it just goes down by 1 step. And you can go back to the full 8 steps by pressing length and reset. Now all these controls are duplicated on the second sequencer, and this sequencer is normalized to the pitch of the second oscillator as well as to the filter's frequency. So let's go wavefolder into filter, and we'll listen to the filter. We'll have sequence 2 change the filter cutoff. You can control the range of either of the sequencers, and that affects, of course, everything that they're sequencing at once. So now let's turn up corrupt on the second sequencer, and we're gonna have these filter changes continually change. And we're not hearing the second oscillator. I can mix that in here if we want. Or we can use it with this knob to modulate the first oscillator. So we had something more tonal before, now it's feeling a bit more like a drum. I'm gonna accentuate that by turning up these envelopes a little bit. Each oscillator is pre-connected to the first envelope, and and the second one controls volume. The first envelope is also controlling the wavefold amount and the filter cutoff. So let's tighten these up to get more into drum territory. And then here's this genius little trig mix control. So right now I have it all the way counterclockwise, which means only this rhythm is actually firing off these notes. If I have it all the way clockwise, it's now using only the bottom sequence's triggers. If I put it directly in the middle, then both of the triggers have equal strength. But things get interesting if I put it somewhere in between noon and counterclockwise, or in between noon and clockwise, because now the triggers from sequence 1 are stronger. And here, the triggers from sequence 2 are stronger. So you get these wonderful dynamics that are also connected to the other things that the sequencers are sequencing. And then just to add to the fun, you could run these sequencers at different lengths. So let's do 7 on the bottom and 8 on top. Now, even if we lock both sequences, you get this much longer pattern of interaction between them. You can just have a little jam with this. I'm gonna turn up the tempo. It's just so fun. You can see like how quickly I went to all different kinds of territory. Always recording. I highly recommend that when playing with Labyrinth. So I wanted to show you how I've been using Labyrinth on some finished tracks. These examples are all from the EP Labyrinth that I just released in collaboration with Ungulé, who, by the way, fantastic producer and teacher. Check out his stuff. I actually found him because of that 4 Producers remix contest that I did a little while ago for my song Oblivion. Here's some of the ways that I use Labyrinth in the tracks that we cooked up. This is a little jam that I was having with Labyrinth, and I was just playing around, trying to find different sequences that I liked, and I ended up landing on one that became the main bass line for this track that we called Zobel. But I also grabbed a bunch of stuff where the corrupt knob was up a bit, so the lines would kind of evolve over time. And I ended up recording a bunch of that, then changing the pitch of my oscillator by a fifth, and then cutting those clips and alternating them in our timeline so that it would almost kind of create this chord progression. On this track, some of the percussion you hear in the background that kind of sounds like these noisy toms, that's also all Labyrinth, and it's doing it very generatively. I had corrupt way up, so you just get these non-repeating patterns and a lot of dynamics to the sound of the toms themselves. Or maybe they're more like a bunch of different snares. I don't know. It's just, you know, perks. This job has a lot of perks. Here's another track that Labyrinth played a big role in. I actually named this track Labyrinth. Had a locked sequence for a while that I just jammed on. I was like changing the tones, just creating a lot of evolution and movement, even though the pattern remained the same through large chunks of the track. And then also I was trying to come up with a different vibe for a new section of the track, and I just couldn't find a kick drum pattern that I liked. So I just dialed up a kick sound on Labyrinth, got it to generate stuff, and actually the very first bar of what it came up with, I really liked. I mean, it's a kick pattern that I could have come up with myself, but I didn't. And I just thought it worked really great for where this track wanted to go. I want to show you a couple more use cases. This is another track that is called Hyacinth. You might remember this. It showed up in my video for the Moog Mavis, actually, and I just really like this jam. Always wanted to finish it, so I took this opportunity to complete it, and I used Labyrinth in the process. It's doing these tiny little ghost note snare roll things that I cut up and used as fills in various spots in the beat. Just running these sequencers really fast and having them affect all these timbral parameters made these much more interesting than what would be more natural or easier to do with a typical drum setup. Also on this track, I felt like there could be a little bit of extra melodic interest, so I used Labyrinth to create these counterpoint lines. I just matched the scale to my track and let it do its thing. In the end, I did cut out certain parts where I just didn't want things to overlap too much. And, you know, I could have played a synth, improvised stuff, whatever, but Labyrinth lets me explore other possibilities and comes up with stuff that I wouldn't have come up with, and I like that a lot in my process sometimes. So if you like these tracks, I'll link the EP, or you can look it up wherever you stream music. It's Andrew Huang and Anjule. The EP is called Labyrinth. Yes, we did think that using the name of the new gear on the EP would be like a little bit of promo help, but Aphex Twin has a bunch of tracks named after gear too. So if this bothers you, you should go after the king. Kudos to the Moog team. I know they've been hard at work on this for years, and I really feel like it's one of the best things they've ever dropped. I guess maybe that's the video? I don't know. I'm feeling kind of rusty. I was realizing this is the first synth demo I've done in over a year. I guess I just got busy with other things, but this is a great one to come out of retirement with. Thanks for watching. Thanks again to Moog, and go stream that EP. I'll see you next time.